could never tell my story without deep regrets of who I became and my actions. I grew up poor in a small town on the other side of Belmont View called Belchman. I lived with both my parents. My father was a sharecropper, and my mother was a seamstress. We never had enough to eat. Some nights we shared only a loaf of bread my mother cooked with the little flour that was left. I knew in those moments change was adamant. I trained my mind to be wealthy by reading the New York Times and Johnson Herald newspaper at the local library. We didn't have a TV. I got married at the age of 21 to a real handsome, easygoing fella who was later known as Old Man Mccoy for being a smart, resilient scientist, trustworthy businessman. He made us millions at our pharmaceutical company. I moved away to live with him in New York City once we were married. I left my mother and father still struggling. I regret that I never went back to get them because of the fallout. They didn't like McCoy moving so many miles away from them, and Daddy never gave us his blessings. McCoy and I had 3 sons, Jet, Carrie, and Slick. Jet was always too fast. Carrie carried the family, and Slick could steal a single hair off your head if given space and opportunity. Old Man McCoy, my faithful husband, passed away soon as he made the biggest financial move of his life. He invested our life saving into a pharmaceutical stock, a drug he invented called Waverclear. My husband had a back condition since birth. He walked with a limp and cane. After taking Waverclear, he was healed completely, and so were many others. Between his investment life insurance policies, I became a millionaire. I continued his works till I was old and gray. After I realized how powerful I was, I made enemies. I was a voice for the community and an activist for chronic pain in the public behind the scenes. I was a grieving widow whose children were controlling and manipulating. Oftentimes, I would fall ill out of nowhere. Things would be moved around in my home and then placed back as I got older. The indirect attacks continued to happen. The money my husband worked so hard for was now being unaccounted for, and my mind was starting to fail me as I got older. I went to a trusted friend and attorney and had him look over the statements. I voiced my concern that my children were trying to take me out for the remaining monies aboard. We hitched a plan to draw out the plot that was against me. The next time my children saw me, I was in a wheelchair. I had lost my mobility and physical strength. My health was failing. They took turns taking care of me and installed cameras, and along with other eavesdropping devices throughout my home that looked like phone chargers and pens. They dropped off food and drinks daily that had small traces of toxic called glut. Glut often messed with people psychologically in small doses. I overheard them discussing the takeover of my husband's business and doing away with me for good. Carrie had a plan to shock me into submission and the other to help him. Around 5 a.m., they would slip onto the property, turn the cameras off, then turn the miniature breaker on that they installed to send high voltage direct energy through my walls to attack me. This kept my muscles weak and lethargic most days. My sons hired to drug addicts to break in my home to scare me off my property. They also assaulted me in other areas. They never left the home. The final plan was to convince everyone that I had dementia and was delusional. Most people believed them, including my lawyer. Over the next few weeks, the break-ins saw assaults kept happening. The men never left my home. My sons wondered what kept happening to the men they hired. They never reported back. They decided this time they would put masks on and break in themselves. Nobody heard from my sons again.